very easy sometimes to get distracted, and this has proven itself with the UFC 205 main event in New York between Eddie Alvarez and Conor McGregor, taking away from another huge bout which will take place in Mexico fairly shortly, and that is between Rafael dos Anjos and Tony Alcucuy Ferguson. Of course, dos Anjos was the previous lightweight champion. He got beaten by Eddie Alvarez. He got one punch which definitely stunned him, and Eddie Alvarez definitely won on the day. He overpowered Rafael dos Anjos. But if you watch that match back over, it's not too dissimilar to Luke Rockhold and Michael Bisping. Luke Rockhold was, for the most part, in control of that bout, but Michael Bisping eventually found an opportunity, and Luke Rockhold was essentially unarmed, and he got checked with a punch to the face and another follow-up on the ground. Rafael dos Anjos was pressuring Eddie Alvarez, and he was on the retreat, but Eddie Alvarez found his opportunity and won the fight. And Eddie Alvarez has only lost 4 matches in terms of his MMA results. Eddie Alvarez has a very, very strong base in wrestling, but I think most spectators would agree that striking-wise, McGregor is far superior than Eddie Alvarez. So the way Eddie Alvarez is going to win is by wrestling, taking Conor McGregor down, where Chad Mendes in the featherweight division exposed that area of McGregor's game, the ground and wrestling. So this is something that Eddie Alvarez lacks, the multifaceted areas of mixed martial arts which can trouble Conor, whereas Rafael dos Anjos and Tony Ferguson are extremely well-rounded. Boxing, wrestling, in general, just their pressure. They both like to pressure the other opponent, and it'll be interesting to see who will be on the retreat, Tony Ferguson or Rafael dos Anjos. It will be a chess match of pressure, and whoever can apply the most without getting caught, and that's an important part because Eddie Alvarez definitely caught dos Anjos with a right hand, which is definitely one of Eddie Alvarez's specialties, the right hand. And that's something Conor McGregor will have to watch out for. So this UFC 205 card in New York is history-breaking, not just because of Conor McGregor's 2 belts potentially, but the fact that it is the first UFC card in New York itself. It has been legalized. Similarly, in Melbourne, once upon a time, it wasn't legalized. And when the Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm fight happened, it was like record-breaking. There was, over 50,000 spectators at Etihad Stadium, and they witnessed Ronda Rousey's first loss in the UFC, when many tipped Ronda Rousey to succeed as she was on a tear in that division. She is, of course, versing Amanda Nunes December 30th or late in the year. And Amanda Nunes beat Miesha Tate, a very durable fighter, quite convincingly. So it'll be interesting to see how that fight goes as well upon Ronda Rousey's return. So there's a lot of fights happening which are not getting the spotlight they deserve. And that's okay because it's completely understandable. History-breaking event, New York. Conor McGregor has a chance to win 2 belts. And you've even got Frankie Edgar in the prelim versus Jeremy Stevens. I mean, he's not on the main card. He's on the prelim card. And I think this may be the case with Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm pretty sure. But even so, it just proves that this card is absolutely stacked from the top down. And similarly, as it's stacked, the same point of view could be applied to the lightweight division. From the top down, there isn't an opponent which you can say clearly Conor McGregor will definitely win against a Dos Anjos, a Ferguson, a Barboza, a Diaz, a Alvarez. Cerrone, of course, has moved up to the welterweight division, and Pettis moved down to the featherweight division. I mean, they were staples of the lightweight division as well. Tony Ferguson has looked almost impeccable in his fights. I mean, yes, he definitely got overpowered some points by Edson Barboza, but ultimately he still won the fight, and his pressure and cardiovascular endurance is phenomenal. Whereas Conor McGregor in the championship rounds has shown fatigue, but to his credit, he has fought out well and tolerated the fatigue. I mean, he beat a triathlete in Nate Diaz. This is not just a guy who's good at cardio. I mean, this guy has been training at swimming literally since he was 4 years old. And Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz are known for their endurance, swimming, cycling, running. They're just two great cardiovascular athletes. And that's one of Conor McGregor's weaknesses. But he's been training very hard. And as you can see with his Mac Life video that he posts, he's been in the lab constantly testing his VO2 max, the reuptake of oxygen, and apparently it's been increasing as his body fat has been dropping back to the 155-pound division, which his coach John Kavanagh says is his best division and that he will dominate. But can you really say that when you have Edson Barboza, Rafael dos Anjos, and Tony Ferguson, Khabib, who hasn't lost a match, are waiting in the wings to get their hands at either the winner of Alvarez or McGregor?